long as we have faith in our cause
I'm Mike.
and unconquerable willpower,
I'm Dave.
salvation will not be denied us.
And this is Between the Lines.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
And we're back.
Merry, happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa.
Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, everybody.
And everything in between.
Happy holidays and everything in between. Christmas is coming up pretty quick.
It is.
It's
next week.
It's
Next week.
I'm concerned. I feel like there's been some sort of rip in the space-time continuum because 2022 did not exist. I feel like we went right from January to December.
Yeah.
I do not remember this year.
No, it's a Mandela effect.
We have video footage
Yeah.
that we existed through an entire year, but I don't believe it.
You know, it's sort of like eating Taco Bell late at night. The only way that you know it happened is that you have a case of
Yeah. Yep. The stomach cramps are the only evidence of a drunken night at Taco Bell. Last week Last week
Dave got pissed off at Disney.
it escalated quickly.
Disney, I'm just going to let you know, even though I'm not yelling right now, I'm still mad at you deeply.
It's like Dave's been scarred. It's like a childhood friend was abducted and beaten and returned differently with PTSD, and now they twitch at the table while they're eating supper.
Every time I hear Willow now, I dive under a car for fear of shrapnel.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like I'm a Vietnam vet.
If you
now.
want to see Dave in an unhinged mental breakdown,
yes.
Last week's episode about Willow, Disney Plus did a reboot, and Dave was not happy. Spoiler alert: Dave's not a fan. So anyway, go back.
I was a fan. I was a big fan.
No longer. No mas.
I was a fan of the original, the OG.
Yeah, the OG. That's how I am with Ghostbusters. I'm a big protector of the Ghostbusters. I grew up watching the cartoon, the movie. It is ingrained in my upbringing in the 2016 Ghostbusters. Really,
I feel like a squirrel. Don't touch my nuts.
I pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That book you bought me, the Haynes Manual.
Oh yeah,
love it. By the way, Dave, for my birthday, awesomely bought me the Haynes Manual for the Ecto 1, which for those that understand cars, a Haynes Manual is like the Bible for your car.
Yeah.
And he got me the one for the Ecto. The reason I say that is because at the very end of the book, they show you all the equipment for the this 2016 Ghostbusters.
Okay.
I skipped that part of the book. I pretend that that part of the book doesn't exist. But it is a really good.
It's not canon.
Yeah, it really isn't. It isn't, and it pisses me off. Like it's a parody of a Ghostbusters movie. If you ask me what they really were going for, it was as if the Wayans brothers. Actually, that would be a better movie. I would enjoy a Wayans brothers Ghostbusters far more than I enjoyed the 2016 version.
All I can envision is, did you ever see that black exploitation film called "I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker"?
I'm gonna get you, sucker.
And,
I've watched part of it.
Parts. I mean, it's freaking hilarious. Like especially the
like
first
Dolomite.
part. Chris Rock walking into the local food establishment.
What's the other one that's like that? Not to interrupt. What's the other one that's like? Is it Pootie Tang? That's kind of like that, where Chris Rock plays like a pimp type thing.
I think so. Is that when he wears like the
purple fur coat? And
the aquarium shoes or something?
Yeah. and then the other good one is don't be a menace.
I don't remember that one.
Don't be a menace in South Central while drinking your juice in the hood.
That booty sweat.
It's a parody of Boys in the Hood, but it's a Wayans Brothers movie.
Okay.
So, but now that I think about it, I would really love to see a Wayans Brothers Ghostbusters movie. That'd be wonderful. The other thing that I thought would be cool is I always thought it would be fun if they rebooted Ghostbusters and like gave it to a new, younger cast.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like I picture, bear with me here. I picture James Franco as Peter Venkman,
I could see that.
or the Peter Venkman-esque character Seth Rogen as the Ray Stantz-esque character, and then what's his name? Craig. I always want to say Craig Ferguson, but he's the British guy.
Yeah.
He was in This Is the End with them. He was in that Ghost show. I can't remember his name. Craig. Anyway.
Craig T. Nelson
From
the Coach.
From Coach. That would be an interesting. But yeah, that whole crew and like you could get Jay Baruchel
Okay.
to be Egon. I always thought that cast, that group of guys would be funny. They would be they have the same, like how back in the 80s you had your quote unquote troupe, your troops of actors, like the guys that were in Ghostbusters were in all of the Lampoon movies. They were in Stripes. They were in there are other, but the same group of actors were always in the same.
Because they had a good
thing.
chemistry and people recognize that. So yeah.
And I feel like James Franco and Seth Rogen and Jay Baruchel and those guys have that kind of chemistry together.
I think they're of an age where they have an appreciation for.
That's part of it too.
Because you can't. I mean, the interesting thing about the most recent movie is that they introduced some really young characters into the mix.
Yeah.
That you could see as.
Sounds like somebody's playing Atari.
Yeah. You could see as them having. They casted well, basically.
Yeah.
You could see them as being a really young.
Yeah, and I think the new Ghostbusters kind of opens it up for, someone to take the torch.
Well, it's like with Indiana Jones. Did you see the last one, the Crystal something?
They're making another one.
I heard, and he's going to be in it.
He said, and I quote, "No one else will be Indiana Jones if I have anything to say about it."
He's almost 80 years old.
I know. That means that the character is going to die, and you're never going to get another I feel like Indiana Jones should be like 007, where it's not an actual person, it's a title. Like
I could see that. And the thing of it is, in the last movie, even though it was
the Crystal Skull,
it was bad.
I pretend that one doesn't exist.
But I mean, it was still it was still Spielberg that did that.
Oh yeah,
which is surprising because he doesn't usually come out with turds.
Well, he probably had mortgage payments coming up that he had to take care of.
But what I was getting at is Shia LaBeouf. He was at the height of his career at that point, and I was thinking that they were going to try to weasel him in as the the torch gets handed off to him.
And there's been rumors swirling around. Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans. Oh, he's in everything.
I'm so tired of Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's another thing I'm mad about. Let's point that out. The Witcher, great TV series, Netflix. Who the hell decided on Chris Hemsworth to replace Henry Cavill?
Yeah.
And by the way, last week I kept saying Mark Cavill.
Mark Cavill.
Anybody watched last week?
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill is a different guy too.
Yeah.
If you didn't know,
Henry Cavill. Yes, a Mark Hamill Superman.
Mark Hamill, you might know him as the voice of Joker in the Batman animated series, amongst other things.
I remember him as the whiny Luke Skywalker. But I was gonna go and get some power converters.
You know what? They did him when he hit Return of the Jedi. I guess that whininess kind of got bled out of him
a little bit.
Yeah, and then later on, as they kind of revived that, his appearances and all that kind of stuff, he was not as whiny, but yeah, nonetheless. But yeah, Netflix, what the hell?
Yeah, what
with
the hell?
Chris Hemsworth, good grief.
Yeah, and bring back Firefly. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Let's bring it back after 20 years. Alan Tudyk, though. I mean, for me, Alan Tudyk was like...
He is... How this man doesn't have an entire room full of Oscars.
Yeah.
I personally don't understand.
Yeah. Alan Tudyk's phenomenal. Everything he's in, he's just good at.
Yeah.
I watched Dale and...
Oh, Tucker and Dale
versus Evil again.
Hands down. One of the greatest horror movies ever written.
Hey, college kid.
Because, I mean, that was the most Hitchcockian comedy I have ever seen.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. It's a Hitchcockian comedy. If you could think of Alfred Hitchcock writing a comedy movie, that would be it.
It was pretty, and it's underrated. It's
so under the radar. Like that if I'm talking to you right now, YouTube, if you haven't seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil, go out right now, find it,
it's good,
and watch it, because this is, I mean, it's a really good movie. And what's the one, Resident Alien?
Yeah,
Alan Tudyk in Resident Alien.
Is that only on the Sci-Fi
That's
channel?
only on Sci-Fi. And it's on, like, you can get it streaming on Hulu, I believe.
Okay.
On Hulu, I think it's on Peacock, a couple of other streaming services, but it's on Sci-Fi. Him in that, like, you believe he is not from this planet.
Yeah.
Even when, like, for those that haven't seen the show, it switched back and forth between him looking like an alien and him looking like a human. And even in his human form, he does like this. He just has this look about him where you almost feel like he's uncomfortable in his own skin.
I'm just thinking here. There's a movie. If you're a Tudyk fan, now you wouldn't know about this one, but probably. I keep talking. I'm gonna look it up here.
He was all not to get on a Alan Tudyk rabbit hole, but he was also in A Knight's Tale. That's one of my favorite.
That's one of his earliest.
Yeah,
like
that's
when
one of my favorite characters that he ever played. It's called a Lance. Hello. and his temper, and I will thong you. Your entrails will become your extrails. Lots of pain, lots of pain. It's so good.
I'm gonna find it here. It's a British film, of all things.
Shocker.
Yeah,
he is of British.
Is he?
Descent, I believe he is.
If
not,
I thought he was Canadian or something.
If he's not British, he's convincing.
He is. He's very convincing. Where the hell? What the hell is the name of it? I didn't know he was in 310 to Yuma.
IDMB, my friend.
I'm looking.
Or IMDb.
I'm having a heck of a time finding it right now. Where the heck is it?
Yeah, Alan. He was just in so many movies, though.
Oh,
I'm trying
good
to
grief.
think of everything.
Why can't I find it?
I'm trying to think of something else that he was in too, but I can't think of anything. Let me look it up on IDMB or IMDb. Alan Tudyk. We are going off the rails, my friends.
This is gonna irk me because I know he's.
He was in Rogue One.
Was he?
I mean, it's listed here. Usually it doesn't lie. Known for Rogue One, Firefly. I didn't know he was in iRobot either.
He must have been a small role because I don't remember him.
Strange World, Disenchanted, Zootopia, Batman. He was Alfred in Batman. That's cool.
Good Lord, where is it?
Harry Vanderspiegel. He was in The Rookie, American Dad, Enchanted.
Grr.
Playing God.
This isn't showing me what I need.
Around what time, or around what?
When
did it come out?
Oh, it was within the last 10 years, I would say.
This is probably one of the best podcast episodes that you're ever going to see.
Yeah, it's us looking.
I'm just gonna call it Two Guys Surf the Internet.
About Alan Tudyk.
Two guys, one browser. He was in Napoleon Dynamite. I didn't know that. He did a lot of Batman. He was in Transformers.
He was not in Young Frankenstein. Why did that come up?
When, this guy, the royalty checks that he must be getting, just in residual. Oh, Dodgeball, Steve the Pirate. Yar.
Yeah, that was definitely a good role for him.
Peter.
Arr.
Just the way he says that still kills me. He was in Patch Adams.
Gosh darn it. Why can't I think of it?
Oh, 28 Days. That's one of my favorite movies with him in it. Oh, he plays like a German guy that has an alcohol addiction.
I don't remember that one.
Oh, that's so good. 28 Days, not to be confused with 28 Days Later. That's that's
movie.
completely different.
Oh, here it is. Death at a Funeral.
Oh, I saw that.
Death at a Funeral, 2007.
That is a hilarious movie. That's with Chris Rock is in that too, isn't he? Is that the one I'm thinking about?
No, there was a second movie made called Death at a Funeral, but the original was a British film.
I see.
So the original,
directed by Frank Oz.
it's even got what's his face, the little I can never remember his name.
Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, Peter Dinklage. He's in it. You've got to watch that if you haven't seen it. You will laugh your ass off.
I have seen this one. I have seen this version of it too.
So basically, not to give it away, but he ends up getting high because he thinks he's taking like aspirin or something, and he ends up buck ass naked on the top of the roof. And
I do remember this.
It is a phenomenal film. It is a phenomenal film,
and it was really good. It's amazing. Like,
there's some gems out there you just really forget about.
You really are, and because and that's my That's what this episode is going to be. We're just going to bitch about Hollywood. That's my one of my major gripes with Hollywood is I don't feel like they promote the right movies. There's some movies out there that even in the last 5 years that have been phenomenal that you
just go under the radar.
Just go under the radar that you never hear about. And you watch them on Netflix and you watch them on all these streaming services, and they're just absolutely amazing movies, and you don't hear anything about them. And
it's like, if to ask Hollywood what's good or not, they would probably give Schindler's List a thumbs down.
Today,
yeah,
Schindler's List would get like a 25 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
It would be horrible.
The crap the critics give, and that's going back to Willow. Because I know that,
like 12 episodes of this, folks. 12.
I just want to remind everybody that last week I brought up concerning MSN.com, and a Rotten Tomatoes scoring of this new fantastic TV series called Willow. Should be called Impotence, like I brought up last week. But anyways, they, the critics gave an 85% approval rating of this TV series, and the audience gave it like a 35-40%. I bring that up to, what we're...
That's equivalent to the Twitter ratio.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like you should judge a movie. What movie? Oh, I can't remember what movie.
Well, what was it they said that of all the... Is it like 10% of the people that are actually on Twitter the ones that contribute the most?
Oh yeah, it's
material.
a very small demographic of people that actually
contribute,
have any kind of
publish any kind of information.
And I think that's what Elon Musk right now is trying to actually highlight. Like,
it's not become a forum. It's become nothing but a soapbox.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's not a forum. It's a soapbox. Wow, that was a great way to put it, because that's what it is now, and that's what Elon Musk. And he's not doing perfect. I'm not.
Did you see Chappelle brought him on stage?
And he got booed hard.
Well, it was mixed. From what I understand, it was like there were a lot of claps and there were a lot of like yay, and it was a mixed reaction basically. So
I like what he's doing, but I don't know if you heard this. He just booted a bunch of journalists from Twitter. I kind of understand it. Like, Twitter adopted a new policy against doxing. So if you publish somebody's location,
oh yeah,
then
I think that should be illegal.
You get banned. The problem is you have things like they track Air Force One. So if you publish a story, here's what happened. Okay, they published a story about the website elonjet.com or something like that,
Yeah.
where you can follow.
There's that guy that actually was tracking it.
Where you can
Yeah.
follow Elon's positioning, and the reporter did a story about it, and they published a link to the website in their story, which was a link to Elon's location. So he banned them.
Okay.
I get it, and technically it did break the rules, and I feel like the rules should be applied on both sides. But my personal opinion on this, and not to get too far into it because I don't want to rant on this podcast about politics, but I feel like it's not that our problem with the bans were the bans itself. It wasn't who was getting banned.
Yeah.
We weren't mad because it was only conservatives getting banned. I mean, that was part of it, but the bans shouldn't exist at all. Like, I understand if you dox somebody, like if you dox a private citizen, that should be illegal.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said about being a public figure, like Elon Musk. If you're going to step into the public spotlight the way that he steps into the public spotlight, like being the president and knowing where Air Force One is at all times, that's the same thing. So if I post an article to the Air Force One tracker, does that mean that I'm doxing the president?
Well, it's sort of, I guess it goes back to the argument too with paparazzis.
Yeah.
Paparazzis invading people's privacy and, movie stars getting mad that, they invade. And I mean, to some degree there should be a line there, but
there is but the litmus test always was, how much of your public life, how much of your private life do you personally put out into public?
Yeah.
For instance, Kim Kardashian. I would say 80% of America has seen her vajayjay. So, I mean, like, how much privacy?
Yeah.
She literally released a sex tape. How much privacy is she really looking for? So that's always been like the litmus test, is like, how much of yourself do you allow to become public? And I think she's allowed a lot of herself to become public. So therefore, if some guy like posts a video of her walking down the beach, I really don't. I mean, you got clothes on. He's already a step ahead of the shit that you posted yourself.
Yeah.
So that has always been a litmus test. So somebody that's a pretty private person, like, say, I don't know, Eminem, who really tries to stay out of public.
You know who did a lot of that? Alyssa Milano. Alyssa Milano, after her stint.
Oh, yes.
Remember there for like 10 or 15 years after she left, was it during Charmed or after Charmed or after Who's the Boss? Yeah, I don't know. Admittedly, Alyssa Milano was a thing for me back when I was growing up.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then she turned into this bitch.
What was the Family Guy? Stewie sang a song. Stewie and Brian sang a song. Alyssa Milano knew you were gonna be hot when you were 9. So bad, but hilarious.
But I love how Family Guy always touches that nerve with that conveniently unspoken truth.
Not anymore. They
It's sort of like, not for anything, Nikki Glacier. Did you ever
Oh, yeah.
listen to her roast?
Oh, man.
Oh my gosh.
That woman is vulgar, but in the best way.
She's I wouldn't recommend if your ears burn quickly at stuff. I wouldn't recommend listening to her anything she does. But if you want to hear like brutal, honest opinions of somebody, it's just
she doesn't hold back. She really doesn't, and I love that.
There was a part where she was roasting Bruce Willis, right before he kind of stepped out of the limelight recently. But they had Alec Baldwin on the stage as one of the special keynote speakers, I guess. And she made the comments like, I know that you were going through that part of your life when you were contemplating suicide. And she looked at him and it's like, I too was also contemplating your suicide. And she's like, I have a few ideas for you.
Oh, that's brutal. That's savage. That's savage.
And that was one of the more mellow things that she
Speaking
said.
of savagery, I watched a compilation of Don Rickles.
Oh gosh,
like an hour-long compilation of Don Rickles.
He was one that he could have been.
He would have eliminated cancel culture in about 3.5 days.
Yeah.
It would be gone.
Yeah.
Because he would just like if somebody tried to come at him on Twitter, he would reply back. He would make them wish they had never been born.
Yes.
He would embarrass them and man, his comedy. I'll never forget. It was right before he passed away when Jimmy Fallon got the Tonight Show. Don Rickles, for those that are too young, grow up.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
But those of you that don't remember, Don Rickles was big in the late night shows. He was always on Letterman, always on Leno.
He was somewhat
Carson,
relevant even up until current.
Oh yeah,
because he was still around
when Fallon got the Tonight Show. He was one of his first guests.
Okay,
like what they did is they brought on like the heavy hitters from the Tonight Show, people that
gotcha.
Like Norm Macdonald and all those. If Rodney Dangerfield was still alive, they'd have had him on. Like all the heavy hitters from the Carson's Tonight Show to Leno's Tonight Show. Anyway, Don Rickles was on there, and he gave this passionate, like, congratulations to Jimmy Fallon. It was completely out of Don Rickles' character. He's like, I really want to tell you, like, I'm so happy for you. You're a good kid. You're funny, you're smart, you're witty, and he just goes through all these compliments and like your career is so great. And I just wanted to tell you from the bottom of my heart, I've never liked you. It's like savage because just one insult, but he goes through this whole thing of buttering him up just to pull the carpet right out. Oh my God, the whole crowd. Fallon died. The band that he has there, is it the Roots?
Yes, yeah.
Oh my God, they were all dying. Like the drummer fell off his chair, but that was just how he delivered it too. He was so sincere. And then
I actually got to meet Questlove.
Oh really?
He
seems like he'd be cool.
He was. I mean, they're from Philly, so they were around. They were around. I mean, they weren't like hiding in a corner somewhere. So they were.
Would you say in West Philadelphia? Born and raised?
Actually, where I used to work, they actually came in every so often.
Nobody in the entire country knows that there's a north, south, or east Philadelphia.
Well, East Philadelphia is technically Camden, so
everything that they've ever heard about is West Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's true. West Philadelphia, born and raised. Every time I remember, I was sitting there talking to some people about, I forget what the context was, and I brought up how I was born and raised in Philadelphia, and they all broke out into the stupid
West
song.
Philadelphia.
It's like I don't even think I said
like
West Philadelphia.
Every time.
I think,
well, that's what I no offense to you, but that's what I think about every time you say, "Hey, in Philadelphia." In my head, you say in West Philadelphia. That's just I can't. It's part of my psyche.
Now the only thing that comes up when you say West Philadelphia, born and raised, is keep your mouth.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I mean,
keep Santa Claus's name out of.
Oh, that's hot.
That's
hot.
That's hot. I will.
Would you please pass the jelly?
Jeez. How did we go from talking about Christmas stuff to...
These are the rabbit holes you get here on Between
Yeah.
the Lines. You never know what. The title means nothing. The title of these podcasts mean nothing.
Yeah,
It's really just a grab bag of whatever the hell we feel like talking
Sometimes
about.
we try to read between them. Sometimes we try to stay in between them.
Yep. Yeah.
And sometimes we...
That's really, I mean,
Sometimes,
today we're just trying to
sometimes
stay
it's a
within the
struggle.
lines. We're just trying to stay between the lines today. That's all we're trying to do.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
so Hollywood sucks.
Yeah.
Let's go back there. Hollywood sucks. They're unoriginal. I just watched they're rebooting Friday the 13th again for the 14th fucking time. It's just called Friday the 13th. How many versions of Friday
wait,
the 13th?
which one's that?
Friday the 13th?
No, I mean which reboot?
Friday the 13th.
The one this year?
Yeah.
Was there one that came out?
They're
this year?
making another one that's coming out in 2023 or
my
2024. They're rebooting it again. How many
my
times?
Lord.
How many times are these dipshits at Crystal Lake gonna fucking start getting finger diddled in the fucking cabins and killed by Jason? Like how many times are they gonna make this fucking movie? I've seen it. I've seen this fucking movie.
Maybe that should be the new title: Friday the 13th, the 15th, diddled again.
Oh my god! It's like how many times are they gonna make this fucking? They're redoing The Exorcist.
They should bring back what's his face from The Simpsons.
They're
the neighbor.
completely rewriting The Exorcist. The Exorcist is still to this
Yeah.
day, is still one of the scariest movies in the
The
world.
original.
The original, still one of the still scary to this day. Why? Why are we doing this?
Yep.
2024, The Exorcist.
And it seems like they just make it worse. It's like,
Yes.
I'll give it for instance. Do you remember the movie Wrong Turn?
Yeah. Why do we need a new one of
So
those?
the original that came out was not good to begin with, but it kind of struck a place because it was unique at the time. And then they decided to make 4 or 5 more of them.
Sequels,
Which they
yep.
just got progressively and more horribly written every time it
Like
was.
Jeepers Creepers.
Yes.
Justin Long
Yes.
was actually pretty good in the first.
Yep.
The first one was actually not too bad.
Second one wasn't terrible
It
either.
wasn't, but it's
Because
still,
he was in both of them.
It's like watered down.
Yeah.
Like you
And
can't.
now they're doing a 4th one, I think, aren't they? Aren't they doing? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
insane like that they can't. Well, I'll be honest, like the Halloween Ends, I was pretty excited about that because I could go
It was
off.
garbage.
It was
garbage.
absolute garbage.
I would rather watch Rob Zombie's sequel,
So
Halloween 2, than I would watch that garbage.
so the Halloween 2018 that came out was good.
yes.
And
You're talking Jamie Lee Curtis, like the original
Well,
Michael Carpenter.
So we all know that there was Halloween and then there was Halloween 2. I'm talking the originals
Yes.
that came out back in the 70s. Halloween 2 was Jamie Lee Curtis, but not even the same storyline, which was
It was not canon. It was weird.
it was way off. It basically
It was almost like a new movie.
well, she was his sister.
That was the only similarity.
Which is not even the original
and Dr.
story.
Loomis. That was the only.
And
Oh yeah, the original story. It wasn't.
No.
Lori wasn't
she
his
was
sister.
the sister dies early or gets stabbed
Yeah.
in the very first.
You're right.
So
You're right.
So, anyways, the storyline of 2018 plays off of the original, and if you look at it,
So it's a direct sequel to the
exactly none of the other movies that came out between
first. Are direct sequels.
are direct sequels. They're just like some reimagining of the original storyline, which all sucked.
Money grabs.
Like even H2O. H2O was the 20th anniversary, and that played off of Halloween 2 because it posited the idea that Jamie Lee Curtis was the sister.
Yeah.
And so none of those. I mean, H2O wasn't bad. I mean,
It
but
was, of the Halloween movies, that's probably one of the better ones.
yeah,
Jamie Lee
but the
Curtis is
original,
hot.
the original is always going to be the best. No, hands down. It was just it was John Carpenter. It was well filmed. The dialogue was on point for the time. The music, the atmosphere. It hit all the
Oh,
notes.
that theme song.
But I mean, it's even rated. I mean, like the critics, it's not a bad movie that became popular.
Yeah.
It was a well-written horror movie that became popular, and but anyways, back to my point. 2018, they came out with the sequel to it. It wasn't a remake, it was a sequel to the original storyline. It was done well. And then Halloween Kills, which was the second one. So they were doing a trilogy to try to, kind of sum it up, even though it was originally one movie. But anyways, second one, absolute crap. Third one, I thought they were going to redeem themselves.
No.
It was like, it was.
Sequels are usually never good.
No,
There's a couple of exceptions where the sequel's better than the original, like Terminator 2 comes to mind. That was a sequel that was better than the original.
It gets me. It's
but it's
like
few and far between.
It's like these people that write for these things and the directors, like. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, it's like, I'm not in that business. I don't know what it takes. I don't know what it requires. But what the hell were they thinking when they wrote this?
I feel like I could do better than these dipshits. I mean, for real. Like, I feel like we could. Here's what I think. If anybody in Hollywood just write a script, write an original story, I will go see it.
Yep.
I will go see it. I don't care how bad it is. The biggest piece of garbage in the world. I'll pay to see it. Why? Because I haven't yet.
Yeah.
These other movies, I've seen them. How many fucking Jurassic Park movies are we gonna get? The dinosaurs eat people, folks. I don't want to spoil the movie for you. But the dinosaurs eat people.
No, in this episode, they go to Harvard and MIT.
Oh my God!
And they design the way that human life exists.
It's like Bill Burr, not to steal his bits or anything, but he has a bit and it applies. It's like he says, how many times are they going to make that movie? And he's talking about how like you have the movie where a white guy or a girl goes into a black neighborhood and tries to save a school, and he's like, let me guess. I don't even have to see the movie. He says, let me guess. She shows up and they don't accept her.
Exactly.
And then she goes home. She cries to her effeminate boyfriend who's cooking something for some reason, and tells her to go back and give it another chance. She brings out their inner beauty. By the end of it, they're dancing together.
Not for anything, but that's why. The cool thing about Netflix and some of the bigger media streaming platforms is that they're all over the world.
Yes.
So basically, depending on where you live, you're going to get a different assortment of things that get uploaded for people to watch.
Yes.
So that being the case, like Squid Games, for instance, that was like a huge hit because it was completely off the rails in terms of originality.
Different from anything anybody had ever seen.
So, and that's what got people's attention, is that this is unique, this is different, this is a rethinking, it's original.
That happens a lot too. Like a lot of the most popular shows in the United States were actually from overseas.
Yeah.
Because Hollywood, we've mentioned it before, Hollywood has this mentality where like a reboot is a 50-50 chance that it's going to be successful. Most people are going to see it out of nostalgia, so you're guaranteed some sort of income from it. So they'd rather do that than an original script where it may completely bomb and they make no money. There's no nostalgia for it. So they're just greenlighting all these reboots because it's easy money for them.
Well, for Hollywood anymore, originality is how close can we get to being porn without being porn now.
That too. And then you have the gun porn and all that stuff that they have, your John Wicks and your stuff like. I'm sorry, folks, that's not how.
Yeah.
5 minutes into that movie and it would be over because everybody would be dead. There's you don't. No. I mean, it's unrealistic.
I mean, admittedly, I'm a John Wick fan. I love the movies,
dude.
They're fun.
They should have just called it Headshot Guy.
Boom.
Yeah, it's like, but anyway.
But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, there's nothing realistic about it.
Overseas, they take some risks. So like The Office, That was
yeah.
originally a BBC series, and I've recently started watching a show on CBS called Ghosts. If you ever get a chance, check this out. It's hilarious, and it's adapted from a UK show. It's about a couple that
I've seen it. Yes,
couple that inherits
they buy
a
a big
manage.
house or something, and
They inherit a manor
okay.
out in Connecticut or whatever it is, and it's haunted by all the ghosts that have died on that property.
We
over
got
the
hooked
years.
to that. It's
It's
good.
hilarious.
Yeah.
They're on like season 3 now, and I can't get enough of it. I watch it every week, and I just think it's great. The Boy Scout guy, that got shot through the neck with an arrow, and he's still got the arrow like hanging out his neck as he's sitting around talking to people. It's hilarious. It's a great movie. But my point is that was not original to the United States. We rebooted it from Britain. So all we're doing is we're sitting around waiting, watching all these other countries make these movies, and then we're like, oh, that one's popular. We'll pull that one. We'll do that one. And it's kind of getting exhausting.
Well, it's just like Marvel is killing our souls with the just nonstop, and DC is starting to do. Whoever owns DC, I don't even know who owns DC, but they're doing the same exact crap.
I think,
or trying to at least.
HBO, I think, owns DC.
So, and that's what I was going to bring up, is that there's a couple of trusted platforms that actually are involved in movie making and TV series making, not just like the streaming of such, but actually HBO is still, I would say, is still pretty solid when it comes to stuff that they touch. They pay attention to the quality elements that, really grab onto an audience's interest. So, for instance, I don't know if we're, coming up on Christmas here. I don't know if anybody's watched it yet, but on HBO, they did a sequel to The Christmas Story called A Christmas Story Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's really good. It's actually really good. They paid attention to the original story. There are a lot of connecting elements, but
it's not just a reboot.
But it's its own story.
Yeah.
And it's good. I actually enjoyed it. And I felt like they paid it homage, homage it needed. Without,
I have no problem with the reboots. I really don't. I like Ghostbusters Afterlife. I needed that. I really needed that movie.
Well, it wasn't even a reboot, though.
It wasn't.
Because it was a continuation of the story, which I think those do a better job of grabbing the audience. Because for you and I, it was 20, 30, 40 years ago when we saw it.
For the first time.
And we liked it. And there's been no story or no telling of that story for 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
To reboot it's one thing, because then you're taking the entire cast, recasting it, redoing the story, and God only knows what's going to come of it. Whereas a sequel, which is what Spirits Unleashed was basically taking the original elements, paying homage to it, but building on it.
Yeah.
Which I think people appreciate more.
I do. And I think as a Ghostbusters fan, that's what made me like it, is because it kept the lore, it kept the canon, it kept everything intact, but it was a whole new cast. Like, it was a whole new story. It was more of a, I guess, reboot isn't it? It's not really it's a sequel, but it's not really a sequel. It's more of a, I guess the right term would be revival. It's more of a renaissance of Ghostbusters, which that I'm okay with. And I think that there are a lot of series out there that you could do a good, like, maybe they weren't great back in the 80s. There's a couple of movies that were fun to watch, but maybe weren't great because of graphic constraints or things like that. Like, there's a little known movie, well, at least I feel like it's little known, called Batteries Not Included.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It was just a cute little movie about these aliens that were like little
robots,
electronic robots.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you reboot that today and make it better with better graphics and stuff like that?
As long as it's got a good storyline. One that really bothered me, and I'll put it out there, is that I don't know if people are fans of Stephen King, but Stephen King is usually known for his like murder and weirdness, like not
psychological
stuff,
murder
like The Shining.
The Shining.
Unbeknownst to most people, he actually wrote some fantasy, and it was really good. It was the
Dark Tower?
Dark Tower series.
Yeah.
And there's about 7, 8, 9 novels worth. I mean, there's a lot of material there. And they came out with a movie back in 2014, 2015 that had Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
It was an absolute 100% hands down piece of shit.
Yeah, I remember that. It was like a sci-fi western.
Well, that's the thing, is that the story of the Dark Tower is that the protectors are basically like these cowboys almost, but it's in a fantasy world that, you know, you've got the Dark Man, they call him, or the Black Man, which is basically this magician or this wizard that just is causing the end of things, essentially. So that's who Matthew McConaughey plays. Now, looking back at it,
isn't that great?
Looking back at it, the casting didn't bother me so much, but it was horribly written, horribly acted. I mean, it was just, it was just bad.
All I can say is I was driving a Lincoln.
Yeah.
Far before it was popular to drive a Lincoln because it's smooth. And it's the way it's transcendental. Really.
Transcendental.
Lincoln's is just it's just a great car.
All I can remember is two ferns between the ferns when Zach Galifianakis is sitting there talking to him.
All right.
That's like, I see you have your shirt on today.
How's that feel? All right.
When I
no, those are your last 3 movie reviews.
When I start,
All right.
That was a genius TV series, like genius series, because
were they in on it?
You could never tell. You could never tell. You almost felt like, is this like a Moon? Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman.
You felt like it was
very Kaufman-esque.
Yeah.
Zach Galifianakis, I think, is closest in our day and age, is the closest to Andy Kaufman that we have.
I would agree,
because nobody is like Andy Kaufman.
He's got that ability.
Maybe Sacha Baron Cohen is a little Kaufman-esque with his Borat, like pushing the envelope.
If you want to see, aside from Between the Ferns, if you want to see Zach Galifianakis kind of really touch on that Andy Kaufman vibe, Due Date.
Oh, man.
With
Robert
Downey Jr.
Such a good movie.
That is a phenomenal movie.
And it was under the radar. That's another one. That's another one that flew under the radar.
It is freaking hilarious. I mean,
Downey was just coming off of Iron Man.
Yes.
When he made that.
Yep.
And he was still resurrecting his career. So it was...
It is a...
For those of you that don't know, probably because it's been swept under the rug, Robert Downey Jr. had a little bit of a cocaine thing.
Yeah. Well,
might have had a couple of hookers in his hotel room. Just saying.
Well, I don't know if it was before or after he started coming back, but Downey Jr. in Zodiac.
Oh, great character.
That's one of my favorite Jake Gyllenhaal movies.
That's like the only Jake Gyllenhaal movie I like.
Night Stalker is actually not bad.
Funny, he's only good in serial killer movies.
Yeah,
weird.
But that's the one where he plays the journalist for the local newspaper, and he gets accused of actually like baiting people into doing things for news.
Funny, because in Zodiac he plays a journalist for a newspaper.
Yeah, I know, kind of the same theme, but little different. In this case, he kind of becomes the criminal.
That's neat.
It's an interesting concept for a film.
Yeah, there was another Zodiac movie that was interesting. We'll have to wrap this up here, but just because I'm thinking about it, there was another Zodiac movie. It was like there was a copycat Zodiac killer, where all of a sudden, like 30 years later, it completely detached from reality. But it's like somebody started sending letters as the Zodiac and started killing people as the Zodiac. And all of a sudden he was like resurrected, and it turns out that it might have actually been the Zodiac coming back out of, like, maybe he was in prison for 20 years or something like that.
Was this just like
It was recently, but it was...
Was this a fictionalization? Is that what it was?
Yeah, like it was almost like a sequel to the Zodiac movie, but not an official sequel. It was like a continuation, as if... like almost like the What If series in Marvel. Like, what if the Zodiac came back?
Because didn't they? Wasn't it in the news like about 2 or 3 years ago when they actually think that they identified who
They're
it
pretty
was?
certain. They're pretty certain at this point. The case is still open because the problem with the Zodiac is they can't. There's no way that they can ever close that case. Like you can't. They didn't take DNA samples. They didn't take anything back then. So like there's no evidence that would be able to prove that it wasn't the guy that they think it is, and there's no evidence, to prove that it was the guy that they think it is. But with 99.9% certainty, they are pretty sure that they figured out who he
and
was.
He's since passed away.
He's already since passed, so it's a moot point anyway. But there's a couple of murder mysteries out there that they'll never actually solve. Like I was watching another series about the killing fields in Texas. There's just these fields, and it's actually called The Killing Fields. It's on Netflix. It's a good series if you're into those crime dramas. But all of a sudden, women just started disappearing, and they showed up in these fields. There's these like 2 fields that are right next to an interstate highway, and like nobody goes by there ever, so it's a perfect place to dump bodies. So they found one, and then they found another, and then another girl went missing, and they wouldn't look for her, and finally they found her dead in the killing fields. And there was like 4 or 5 people that were found there, and they never did find out who did it. Like it was like the perfect place to get away with it.
Yeah,
they just never. And then you had out in California, there was a string of the Night Stalker. There was a string of killers in L.A. back in the late 70s, early 80s. Richard Ramirez and the Night Stalker, and people like there's just all kinds of stories like that.
And these are cheerful, Christmassy type of things that we're
Merry
talking
Christmas. New movie called Violent Night.
Yeah.
Where Santa just go check out the trailer. Violent Night. It's coming out this year.
It looks funny.
Where like this criminals take a family hostage, a rich family hostage, and Santa. It's Christmas Eve, and Santa comes down and like John Wick's. He becomes John Wick Santa Claus, where he's like killing people and shit like that. It's hilarious looking. It reminds me of the beginning of Scrooged, where they have like Santa with machine guns and whatnot. But at any rate,
yeah, it's the actor that plays Hopper in Stranger Things.
It's such a funny trailer. Go check that out. At any rate, Hollywood sucks. They need some original crap. These reboots are getting boring. To recap, that's pretty much what we're getting at the gist of today. Go back and check out some of our old content. We've got lots of stuff out there. If you like what you're seeing, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment down below. Let us know what you think the worst reboot in history is.
If you want to find out a little bit about this new TV series that just came out last week on Disney Plus, it's called Willow, and it sucks atrociously, and it gives me nightly reverberations. It gives me pause.
He's got PTSD.
I've got PTSD times 10 from plus. Thanks, Disney Plus.
So check us out. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Facebook. We've got lots of content on our YouTube channel. Check out some of our videos there. Comment down below what you think the worst reboot ever was, or comment down below and let us know what you think a good reboot was that we need to check out. Some movies that you've seen that you liked and that maybe you think we should see. So until next time, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy
Kwanzaa. Whatever the hell your flavor is, enjoy it. It's the holiday. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye.
Bye.